Welcome to module number uno.
Numero uno, number one.
And what we're going to be discussing in this module is picking the right country. And we really do feel that it is so important to even know where you're going. So, first things first, when choosing where to live, it's probably one of the most important considerations of all of it.
Yeah.
So starting life in a new country, it can be costly, it can be time consuming, and realistically, a lot of people only have one chance to get this thing right.
Yeah, one shot.
So you may already have somewhere in mind. You may have visited someplace on vacation, or you may have loved the idea of living in a particular country. Now, if that's the case, just make sure that the reality lives up to the ideal. So some people may be having to just start from scratch to be able to get away, to be able to get away or to experience another country. But we want you to keep in mind some of the following information that we want to share with you. So, as I said earlier, you may have already a place in mind. You may have a country that you went on vacation and you just loved it. Or, you may have heard some expats talking and they kind of, made you feel like, well, let me take a look at that country. Let me decide, if this country is somewhere that I want to live. But when you're choosing a country that you want to live, we just want you to bear some things in mind as you're choosing your country, right? So choose the place that will meet your needs. Now, it should give you everything, or at least almost everything that you need. But what you want to also keep in mind is that no place is utopia, right? No place is going to have every single thing that you would like to see in the place that you live. You won't get that in the United States. So when you're in the States, you're like, okay, well, I like this, but I don't really like that, but it's okay because that wasn't high on my priority list. It's the same exact thing when you're moving to another country. So it may be one of your dream locations to move to this particular area or to this particular country. But if you find a school there for your children and you're finding that it's a nightmare, then that's just not going to work because that is a high priority for you and your family. So first things first is that you want to decide on the priorities, the things that you must have. And it may be a tolerance of religion or sexual orientation. And what I mean by that is you may be, Muslim or Christian or any of the different types of religions that's out there, but the country that you may have on your list doesn't acknowledge those religions or may not be conducive to those types of religions. Or you may be in a same-sex marriage. You don't want to move to a country that doesn't recognize a same-sex marriage or has issues or, low tolerance for same-sex marriages. So when I say that, these are the values that you want to be considering when you choose the country that you want to move in or move to. So those values need to mirror your own values. So low crime rate, good schools, or personal health system. Just do your research. And when I say do your research, Google, scour magazines, look through different books, do your research, go and join online forums, ask lots and lots of questions. But when you do that, this is so important. When you go to these different forums, I really want you to keep this in mind. There are times that I've been in the forums or Facebook groups or what have you, and the people, it's like a setup. So you ask a question and they just jump down your throat. There are trolls in different groups, and they don't want you to come to the country that they've chosen. They may be trying to avoid, it becoming a big tourist area or location, or whatever their reasoning is. Just take the advice with a grain of salt. So sometimes I'll read different posts, like for example, when we lived in Costa Rica, and there were people that would be like, oh, Costa Rica, doesn't like expats. And when I went through customs, they gave me 30 days on my passport, and I was telling them that I lived there, and they would not let me stay past 30 days. Well, Mitch and I was leaving the country every 90 days and never had a problem. Never had a problem. So what I say to that is, we don't know what that gentleman or that person was going through as to why they received 30 days. Listen, people just don't give you the full story. They don't say that they were out of the country, or they, stayed in the country past their 90 days, and it was kind of like a trial period to get 30 days stamped to see if they would leave the country. Like, you just never know what their situation is as to why immigration gave them 30 days and not a 90-day stay in the country. So that's just my example of saying that sometimes you really have to keep a broad mindset, or just take everything with a grain of salt that you're getting from these different forums, but ask a lot of questions and see what issues keep coming up or keep reoccurring, because those may be things that you need to address. But then go there, spend a good amount of time there in the country that you want, and then decide whether or not it's a place for you. Decide, is this a place that I want to go to? And when I say, spend some time there, I mean quality time there. Don't go to the resort. Mitch and I had this thing, or people like, well, I was over here in Mexico and I loved it, and I'm gonna move there. Okay, where did you go? What did you do? They was in a resort the whole time. Okay, go and experience the country. Go and live like a local. Go to the grocery store, shop like a local. Get you an Airbnb. Don't live in a hotel for a week and then determine if that's the country that you want to live to. Because really, at the end of the day, when you're living in a country, even if it's a tourist country, we don't live as tourists. We live there. And so you have to be able to experience that country. When you live as a local in a country, the honeymoon is over. You really get to see if you like that country or not. If that country is conducive to the things that you want, if it's good for your family, or if your children like it, or the type of foods that they sell you, or the weather, just so many different things that you want to be able to keep in mind or experience prior to moving to a country. Now, this is one of the things that Mitch and I always say. Do as we say and not as we do, because we did not go to Costa Rica before we moved there, nor did we visit Colombia before we moved there. We just knew that it was something that we were ready to do, live outside the box and enjoy life, and so we just did it. But again, the first time we moved to Costa Rica, it was just me and Mitch. So if it's just you're single, that's one thing. If it's you and your husband, that's another thing. But then if it's you and 3, 4, 5, 6 children, that's something where you really do want to go and visit it first, because you have a lot more personalities that you have to take into consideration when moving to that particular country. So this is going to wrap it up for the choosing where to live module. I hope this has been helpful, and so thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for module number 2.
Hey family, thanks again for watching another episode of Mitch and Donna's Journey. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell for notifications. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks again for watching. Peace.